Good evening, and welcome to Media Culture and Society News. I'm your host, Christine Price, and today we will be discussing the topic of the lawsuit from CNN towards the White House. Last week, Jim Acosta, CNN's chief White House correspondent, was at a press conference after the midterms and pressed President Trump to answer questions he was not fond of. After asking several questions, an intern tried to take the mic away, and he did not let her. That night, his press credential was revoked, and he was no longer allowed to enter the White House. Here's a clip of the questions asked and the confrontation.
They're hundreds of miles away, though. They're hundreds and hundreds of
You know
miles
what?
away. That's
I
not
think
an
you
invasion.
should, honestly, you know
miles
what?
away. That's
I
not
think
an
you
invasion.
should, honestly, I think you should let me run the country. You run CNN.
All right.
And if you did it well, your ratings
Let
would
me
be
ask,
much
if
better.
I may
Okay,
ask
that's
one other
enough.
question, Mr. President. I was
That's
going
enough.
to ask one of the other folks. have
That's
had-
enough.
Pardon me, ma'am. Mr.
Excuse
President.
me, that's enough.
Mr. President, I had one other
Peter,
question,
let's
if
go.
I may ask, on the Russia investigation. Are you concerned that you may have?
I'm not concerned
indictments-
about anything with
that you
the
may have
Russian
indictments coming down?
investigation because it's a hoax.
Are you-
That's enough. Put down the mic.
Mr. President, are you worried about indictments coming down in this investigation?
Backlash quickly ensued after the announcement. Press Secretary Sarah Sanders announces Jim's past suspension over Twitter following a thread of tweets stating, "President Trump believes in free press, but does not tolerate a reporter placing his hands on a young woman." She goes on to call this type of behavior as disrespectful and unacceptable. She then points out that CNN standing by Jim is disgusting, and the assertion that President Trump does not support free press is false, considering he answered questions for an hour and a half. Others claim that the administration's action is in a direct threat to the United States' freedom of press. The implications of banning press from the White House, they say, seems to pose a threat to our very democracy. As Professor Ava Braun begs the question, is media and journalism essential to our democracy? This week, CNN filed a lawsuit against the White House, stating that this revocation violates CNN's and Jim's First Amendment as well as the Fifth, which promises due process, and asked for the immediate return of the access to the White House. After this statement, Press Secretary's argument had shifted from touching the intern to the reason being his disrespect for fellow journalists and the way he monopolized the floor. Before this, however, it was found that Ms. Sanders posted a video of the altercation which had been modified. Here are the two clips next to each other.
The other folks. have
That's
had-
enough.
Pardon me, ma'am. Mr.
Excuse
President.
me. That's
All in all, this story has many different sides, and we here at Media Culture and Society News encourage you to look at all of them. Consider your biases and ask yourself the question, how does your opinion of CNN, Trump, and the news influence your view on this topic? Try framing the problem with a different perspective to see how your opinions change. Well, that's it for Media Culture and Society News. Again, I'm your host, Christine Price, and join us next week for coverage over the Brexit.